Well, welcome to Perspectives. I'm Sam Jones, and my first guest today is the Will Rogers interpreter. Interpreter
Yes.
at the Will Rogers Memorial Museum. Bart Taylor, back to talk about a few things with us. Good to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Sam. Yeah, great to be back.
What's interpreter? What?
Interpreter. I speak Will Rogers, right?
Fluent?
People always, and I told Tad Jones, you know, you've had Tad on
Yeah.
many times, and I'm like, Tad, just put something else different on the card, please. You know, it's creative curator, interpreter. So people are always like, what does interpreter mean? So yeah, interpreter, I do the Will Rogers thing. You know, I've got the gig of the Will Rogers interpreter. Yeah.
We've had several of his relatives on and gotten to know, in fact, Jennifer, who was here not too long ago.
Yep.
And as you and I were talking just a moment ago, fire just ravaged the California estate out there.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's been, I'll never forget. I live across the street from the museum. And so I was texting her in real time, Jennifer, like, what's going on? What's happening right now? With all, you know, I wanted real time updates, and so did the staff members, because everybody cares about that place, right? I had visited 3 times. I got to see Will's gum underneath the dinner table. You know, like you see those little personal things. His chili pot. The man loved chili. He's a traveler. He wanted something fast to eat, but he always had a pot of chili going on in his house. So you got to see those things that were his, and you hope a lot of that didn't get out, but some of it did, right? Some of his first edition books, some of those Remingtons, those Charles Russells. So you know, a lot of that stuff hopefully was saved, and I know some of it was, but just a tragedy that the house is gone, because that was the man's refuge, right?
Well, you told me something a moment ago before we started taping that I did not know.
Yeah.
But he owned the property, or I guess it's still in his name, where the museum is.
Yeah, so in 1911, he bought that 20-acre property, which is currently the Will Rogers Memorial Museum, where the property sits today. So it's kind of a poetic at the end. That's where he is. Now, of course, he was originally buried in Forest Lawn Cemetery until 44, when Betty Rogers passed away due to breast cancer. And so he was deinterred and brought here. And of course, Betty was brought here as well, and 3 of their 4 children are over there. And so it's a place of life, but it's also a place where one of the greatest Americans, you know, in my opinion, rests today. It's where his inspiration can be drawn from. It's the well, if you will.
Why is it, and you more than anybody, I think, could shed light on this, is why is it the legend and lore and the man have stayed with us all these years?
Oh. I point directly to it's what we see ourselves as. You know, Abraham Lincoln says the better angels of our nature, right? It kind of makes us the best of our country can be. And I think Will Rogers represents the best of what our country can be as Americans, right? And it's the Cherokee side, it's the diverse part, it's the hard work and values that we share side. It's what Lincoln said. It's like, hey, this guy embodied the Constitution. Carl Sandburg, Lincoln's biographer, it might be over some folks' head, but it's someone I know who was the biographer of Lincoln. He said there's 2 people that represented the Constitution, embodied it, and it was Lincoln and Will. So you hear those big praises, you start to see, oh, yeah, he did. Never met a man I didn't like. Using those hard working talents, the Cherokee background, the heritage, and working towards that only could happen in America type thing, right?
The last time I was over there, I was taken down in the basement where Will and Betty are, and I couldn't help. It was an overpowering urge. I had to put my hands on the plate over his body.
Yes.
And because that's as close as I'll ever get to being next to the guy.
And you know, that's why folks were always, I wish he was around today. 100%, because you want to shake his hand. The guy that gives us this idea of, you can do better. I never met a man I didn't like, right? We're not always going to agree on everything, and the personality's not going to be the same, but you know what? There's always something to connect to. Will was a connector in a world of dividers. I say it almost every day to kids. Be that connector in a world of dividers. So I think when you go down there, like I was telling you too, is when I took that older lady down there, down the stairs, she was in her 90s, she got to experience being as close as she could to one of her heroes. And she said her dad's hero. And you think about, back to my personal story, my grandfather, his dad, when Will Rogers passed in 35, he came home and he was crying. And that man never showed emotion. And so those folks back in the 20s and 30s, this was more than just an entertainment figure for them.
Right now, this country, I'm up in years, I don't deny it, but
No.
this country is torn apart almost as badly as the Civil War days.
Right.
Would Will have survived this?
Well, and that's a question I'm asking all the time is what would Will think of today's politics? What would Will mean today to our politicians? Because Will got along with all sides, both sides, and brought those sides together. And so is anybody, and there are folks out there still doing this, is anybody using their art form, their class, their reputation, and using that at stakes to bring folks together? And you don't see a lot of folks just doing that. And I think that's what Will represented. Again, the best of getting along. I never met a man I didn't like. And so I think he could exist in pockets. I think you see him sort of in late night comedians, right? Parts of them, right? I think the closest guy to him, and it's Johnny Carson. It's a David Letterman mix. It's that goofball, but also sharing the facts, everything that we all share together, and those truths, those universal things that he could speak to in a humorous manner. That's why it was.
It's an intriguing thought to wonder if it were possible to walk behind Will as he walked through this country today, to hear what he'd verbalize, what he'd say, how he would approach it.
It'd be fantastic. That's why I think today it's good to see a comedian that got along with presidents. Will Rogers got along with 5 different presidents, from Woodrow Wilson to FDR. He joked Woodrow Wilson in front of his face. 1916, Baltimore, Maryland. Will was performing for the Friars Club. In walks Woodrow Wilson. In that joke session that Will had and his show, he had a joke about Woodrow Wilson. He decided to tell it to his face. Woodrow burst out laughing, right? That gave Will the in that he needed, that he carried forward for other presidents. FDR called him a personal friend. I think there was something about Will that it was America, right? But it was also just using his humor, his come-togetherness. It's something that we miss today. People looking for the quick laugh, the quick thing on TikTok or Instagram. Will used his craft, his art, to work at it, right? To work hard at his craft, to become that comedian, that witty guy that could say those things that brought us together.
One of my disappointments for the past year has been a local newspaper in Tulsa stopped carrying quotes from Will Rogers every day.
Right. For a long time it was on there, yes.
It was always there.
Always there.
And it was a good way for me to start the day, and see, well, what would Will say today?
Right.
Ironically, it would apply to what was going on.
Yes. I mean, when he's saying Congress, every time they make a joke, it's a law, and every time they make a law, it's a joke.
Yeah.
Write to your congressman, even if you can't read, just write to him. He's saying things that make us laugh, but also go, oh yeah, The Senate always opens with a prayer and closes with an investigation. And you're saying, oh my goodness, nothing changes, just technology, right? And that's what Will had a hold of. He was just the early guy in the radio, early guy in the newspapers, and in the movies that was pushing those things and his talents into those mediums. That's how he was able to connect so many people together with those ideas of come-togetherness.
We've only got a limited amount of time.
Sure.
You've got another book out.
Got another book out, and I'm teaching a class here at RSU, all about Will. It seems like all I do is, what's Bart doing? It's Will Rogers, right? It's every time. So yeah, my new book's out, Will Rogers and His Great Inspiration. So again, author of the 3rd book in the series. And what's awesome about this one, Reba McEntire wrote the foreword to my new book.
Sweet.
How did I get that? Relationships, baby. That's what I would say. Because I'm friends to Jennifer Rogers, right?
Yeah.
And she opened the door to Rex Lynn. Rex Lynn and her are going to get married soon. Rex Lynn and Reba McEntire. And that opened the door to Reba. I opened my email box and it said, email from, of course, the person. I was like, oh my goodness. And what did she say? She said exactly what I was hoping for. She's connected to Clem McSpadden, who, of course, is Will Rogers' nephew. She was discovered by him.
I knew Clem.
That inspiration runs from Will today, even to Reba McEntire. And so just having her on the project is something that opens doors and gets the story out more.
What's the name of the book?
Will Rogers and His Great Inspiration.
And where is it available?
Yeah, Will, gift shop, of course, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other retail stores as well. So just check in. Yeah.
Great.
It's out there. Yeah.
Well, we got to be sure, and I got to get a copy and then get you to sign it.
Yes, of course. Sounds great to me.
Thank you for coming by.
Yes, of course.
I really am grateful. And keep us posted on developments over there, will you?
We'll do, definitely, yeah. Thanks
You're
again, Sam.
Good man.
Second time I've been on. Let's do a third.
I don't care what anybody says. You're a good
Chad
man.
Jones, probably. That's the only person that's talking about me. No, thanks again.
Good to see you,
Thanks,
buddy.
sir.
Don't
Appreciate
run
it.
off your mic.
Oh.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be back right after this.